Hi, I'm Larry Threadgill. I'm the chieftain or president of Ríðar Wyrd, and today we're doing the second verse in the study Havamal, which is from our friends over at the Huginn and Muninn Publishing Company. And I'm making lots of noises. And
I'm Nelson Young. I'm the elder or vice president of the Ríðar Wyrd kindred, and I'll be using the chisholm version. Yeah.
And I'm Matt. Oh, a traveling wanderer from Portland, Oregon.
yeah, so he's up here visiting and coming out here to study with us for a while we're here, and we tortured him by putting him on video. Ha ha ha!
And making him drink with us.
Yeah, that too.
Such horrors.
Okay. So the second stanza, and I'm not going to try and do this in the original because I'm gonna butcher the hell out of it.
Oh yeah.
That's okay.
So the first translation is from Bray, is "Hail ye givers, a guest is come. Say, where shall ye sit within? Much pressed is he who fain on the hearth would seek for warmth and welcome."
So the second translation is from Thoreau. Givers hail, a guest is come in. Where shall he sit? In much haste is he who on the ways has to try his luck.
Right. And then from the chisholm version, hail the givers, a guest has come. Where shall he sit? Hard pressed is he who tests his luck by the fire.
Okay. And our third translation from the study Havamal is "Hail to the giver, a guest has come. Where shall the stranger sit? Swift shall he be who with swords shall try the proof of his might to make." So the translations for this one are a little bit different than from the first one.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of this one?
Well, so far, like, the literal is essentially like the hosts like hail them.
Right. Hail or to call them forward. Right.
Yeah. And then a question posed, most likely to the givers, on where this guest who's just come in shall sit. And then if it's an imposed, like a random person showing up on your door,
Right.
maybe you could bend that person. Essentially, but if you're in a rush,
Well, basically, it sounds like it's, for me, from the three translations that are in the study Havamal, it's all, each one of them says, okay, hail to the giver, the people that have answered the door, the people showing the hospitality. You have somebody at your house. It's kind of like somebody showing up at the door knocking that you weren't expecting. Whether it's a friend, foe, or somebody you don't know.
what is it called? It's kind of weird, right?
It's called?
No. The like, I don't want to call it guest right, but the tradition of hospitality.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, normally in Old Norse law, as near as we could tell from the culture of the Teutons, written by a Danish professor, name escapes me at the moment, and also the book written by Tacitus, the Roman historian.
Yeah.
Basically, as far as we know, is that a lot of times before a guest came into your hold, they would request the gift of bread and water, or wine, or meat, because it meant you could not kill them after you had given them hospitality. We see this even now in a lot of cultures where someone who comes to the door normally is offered food and drink immediately upon entering. So it's much the same thing.
Yeah, it's just it's courtesy. It's
right.
Basic hospitality. I mean, somebody comes over to your house, and yes, as my wife says, it follows my normal rule of just almost every religion and most peoples everywhere, one of the rules was, and forgive me, I know this is supposed to be family friendly, but pretty much don't be a dick.
Right.
That's a rule of life. I mean,
right.
Golden rule.
But
right.
it also tells you that hard pressed
He was golden rule.
is he, it also says hard pressed is he because it's someone who may not have wanted to be a guest, but now is forced to be a guest out of obligation or maybe a situation that they were in, which also leads us into knowing when it's appropriate to ask for help. If you can't do it yourself, ask for help. If your house burned down, obviously you're going to need to stay with family and friends. These are things that may happen to you. It happened to our ancestors. We know from the sagas if you read them. So it's all there.
For like, in much haste is he who on his way has to try his luck. That would be in a modern sense. Say, you're in a rural community. You pop a flat tire. Your cell phone's dead, and the only option you have left because payphones don't exist anymore.
Right.
Is knocking on some stranger's door.
Right.
Saying hi, I'm stuck out
hey,
in the cold
hail.
rain. Yeah.
Can I use your phone?
Actually, that's a perfect example for this.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant. So, like, in
Yeah.
Bellows, swift shall be he whose swords shall try the proof of his might to make. It's kind of like saying, okay, is it friend? Is it foe? How are you going to respond to someone coming to your door? So, I mean, we'd all like to think that if we broke down on the side of the road and we knocked on somebody's door saying, hey, look, I'm stuck. Do you have a landline? Can I call for help?
Right. Hopefully they're not like, get off my lawn.
Right.
Right.
Get off my lawn, son. You gotta run.
Right.
Which is possible, though, at
Yeah.
the same time. And
Especially here in America.
And I say that because my buddy Matt is, like, really, really smart, but you talk to him and he sounds like he just walked off of the field somewhere. But he holds 2 doctorates. You never know it if you just judged him by his accent. So I slip into that sometimes.
No, and there are many generals who have been the same way.
Right.
Yeah. So it is what it is, But it also tells you that, someone who comes to your door, how are you going to greet them? How are you going to aid them? So again, it's, as I've said many times, I will continue to say, it's a guideline to tell you how you should interact with someone.
Right.
If it does not hurt you to aid them, you should aid them. I don't know why that's so hard in this day and age, but apparently it is.
Okay. Well, it also falls in with the first stanza, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is this person come to pillage, raid, and steal your wares?
Or
Who knows?
Right. Because, yeah.
Or are they a helpless, hapless bystander who just needs to use your phone?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of scams nowadays.
There is.
Home invasion's a real thing.
It's driven this trust between the folk.
Yeah. Right. But let's be honest. How many people do you meet every day on the street who are criminals? And how many people that you meet on the street are just everyday, hardworking people just trying to exist?
I'd say everyone is both.
Well, maybe
To an
so.
extent.
Maybe so, but just as our people understood, a land spirit for you is a troll for that guy over there. So someone who, as long as they don't steal from me, I'm perfectly fine giving them whatever help I can. As long as they treat me well.
Okay, we're not going to go into the left hand of Auden right now.
It's a long, hard road.
Yes. Which is a whole other.
Sometimes you have to look down to look
right.
up.
But if you think about this, if you're taking the 2 stanzas together, it's somebody that's come up to a gate. He's coming, in a way, it's almost a story between them.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you're thinking of it from a skald's point of view, he's telling the story of somebody that comes up to a house, checks the gate. He doesn't know whether it's friend or foe inside. It sounds like it's a stranger coming to your door. So you've got somebody that shows up at your door, and back in that day and age, it could be weather, it could be something else. They could be starving, and they could be lost.
It could be just something as simple as they planted crops and an early frost came and it destroyed their crops.
Right.
So now they have no food. It could be someone who's waiting for the food stamp check to come but didn't get it and now asking for a cup of sugar. It could be a lot of things. So you know, it kind of speaks of hospitality, as was stated before, and being not only a good citizen and neighbor, but also being just a decent fucking person.
Yeah.
And I think that's lost on a lot of today's society.
I think another like translation to see is it's words from the High One.
Right.
And everyone knows Auden was a traveler.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so this is more than likely from his perspective.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it
Sure.
could be him in disguise if he's the stranger too.
Well, as we know, especially from like the Volsung saga, where he was known to come and visit, and there's the Skull of Crimson saga, where he comes to visit as an old beggar,
Yes.
and he was treated like shit and posed with the slaves, the thralls, men of no worth, not necessarily slaves, but men and women of no worth in the community.
And
where
then
he
he
was
kept
forced to
that
live
up
with
for a
them.
while though.
Well, he did keep that up for a while, but eventually it was the man of no worth sitting next to him who showed him
The most
what decency was.
Yeah.
And him and the Jarl switch places.
Yeah.
So it's kind of important to kind of look at those different applications in not only Odin and our ancestors' perspective, but in ours.
Yeah, and in modern, yes, we have a question from the audience.
Sorry, so you guys touched a lot about when a visitor comes to you, but what about when you are the visitor?
Well, that's also true. So in one of the translations, in much haste is he who on the way has to try his luck. So it's that, okay, I'm in that situation. You're the person in the car. Do you approach that farmhouse? Do you look around first? Do you look and see, okay, is that a graveyard in the back, or those just,
Some mounds.
watermelons under those mounds that are growing right now? And that's a very real circumstance too. Right. You don't always know what you're walking into when you come up to a strange door.
Right. Well, and also, like, the whole thing can be read from the perspective of the stranger. With Haley Givers, a guest has come in. Where shall he sit? Or where shall the stranger sit? Where shall I sit?
Yeah.
Are you going to sit me right next to you or across the table? And, like,
ooh, good point. Yeah. Or is it the guys who you're like, okay, how about if you just stay in the doorway,
right on the porch?
Don't even sit down.
Here, stay there. I'll bring you the phone.
Right.
And you don't invite them in out of the cold, out of the rain, out of whatever situation they're in.
Could be a sunny nice day. It's just outside.
Yeah. Could be just they blew 2 tires instead of 1, or maybe they don't have the tools to change the tire. I mean, it could be a lot of things.
Yeah. And in modern society, we tend to
push people,
be a little bit skittish of people.
Right.
Yeah, we push them away because you never know if it's a scam or if it's somebody there to do some harm to you. But a lot of the times, it's just people that they need help.
Right. And as a person who talks to person, it's not weird to talk to someone just because I didn't do it through text form. Just so you're aware.
Okay. Did that answer that for you, or did we just completely squirrel to the side?
Little of both, but it was good.
Okay. How can we help a little bit? No, really. You asked a good question.
Well, I think it kind of meandered back to the maybe do you bring them in out of the cold? It kind of reverted back to the whole they're the visitor and you're the. So I guess the question that I would be asking is when you do knock on a door, right? If they do ask you to come inside, do you go inside or do you?
Well, that goes back to the
stay
first
on the porch.
Right.
You should look to every door. Like, be aware of your surroundings. Do they have imageries of death all over, or just they've got hardwood floors and so a lot of duct tape in that open closet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say much. I've got swords and axes and spears and
Well,
stuff all
and
over
hardwood
my
floors.
But there is
hardwood floors.
Trust your instincts.
Yeah, this isn't
more than anything else. Trust your instincts and your gut. Often enough, your sixth sense, if you will save you more often than not. If something feels like a strange situation, then I would be wary. That doesn't mean don't knock on the door because you need to use their cell phone, because just be wary of what may happen.
It also says to practice. It's basically not only if you're practicing hospitality, it's not just important to be a good host, but to be a good guest.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk into a place and knock on the door like
This is the police.
yeah, like this is the police. I was trying not to say that. But there's no other way to do it. Bam, bam, bam. Open the door. My car broke down. You're gonna give me your phone. That's not gonna happen.
Trash the place when you go.
Right.
Right.
Or walk in, sit down on their couch, and put your feet up and say, "Yeah, can I use your phone? My car broke down."
Right. Right. Or trudging mud in through the house. You know.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's many different ways of being a good guest.
Observe, like, are there a pile of shoes near the door? They probably don't wear shoes in the house.
Oh yeah. Good
Right.
point.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, basically, ultimately, you know, same things we learned in kindergarten.
Shoe
Yeah.
racks.
You know, keep your hands to yourself, and you
Don't
know.
be a dick.
Right. Right. Ultimately, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Which brings me down Bellows. His is swift shall be he whose swords shall try the proof of his might to make.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically saying, okay, if you're going to be that stranger coming up to that door and asking to be a guest, you might be just stuck in the wilds on the side of the road or something else. Don't pull that attitude. Don't show how I got my 2 axes right here. I'm here to stay in your front room whether you like it or not. We have another question. Yes.
So back in the day,
Back in the day. Okay.
how would they go about, as you said, being the good guest? Like, what were some of the common traditions or actions that one might take to show that A, they're not there to harm them and are just in search of aid? Like, what would that look like? What would they do?
The most prevalent form is don't be empty-handed when you show up to the door. Any gift, even if it's like something very minor, could have been like something you literally picked on the way up.
Right.
Probably not from their own property, but
Yeah.
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 It shouldn't be something from our property.
but any gift at all to show your good intention.
Sure.
Okay, so what if it's someone you don't know?
Like complete stranger's door, right?
Right.
And I don't know who they are. Like, what's a universal gift everyone needs?
A name,
A
Beer.
name.
Oh.
an introduction.
True.
Yeah. It
I
could
thought
be.
you were going for a hug. I was going to say, oh, that could be
So 2 hands up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little touchy feeling. Yeah, there's laws against things like that.
What about arms? Like disarming?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that would be a great way, especially since a lot of people
So,
walk around armed. So presenting your firearm or what have you to them
Right.
in a non-hostile way would be like, this is
Right.
right.
Right. Or possibly keeping it concealed, and not letting them know you have it.
Or
Not
leaving it
brandishing.
on that porch or on
leaving it in the
opening.
car.
Kind of like you were talking about with the shoes, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, very similar. Very similar. And in fact, that was common practice back in the day.
Right.
As well. So, you know.
Leave your weapons at the door. Yeah.
What about, in fact, declaring? You know, making a declaration.
Mhm.
Even, especially in modern times.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean you any harm.
I have nothing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or I have X.
I am
Okay.
friend, not foe.
Right.
Right.
So, like I said, an introduction. You knock on somebody's door. Hi, my name is so and so. I broke
Right.
down the street. I really don't have a choice. I hate to bother you. Can I please use your phone, or can you call help for me?
Right.
So, transparency then.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Honesty is key.
Be yourself. Be honest. Show the hospitality that you want to receive from them.
Right.
And they will give it to you.
Right. Absolutely.
So don't be a dick.
Other question.
Yes.
So, would you say then that Auden always did that?
No. However, we're talking about two completely different things. You're asking someone for help versus Auden, who's a god and can do things on his own.
Not to mention, in the tales,
Entirely different.
in the tales and such, it's more of either him discovering these things or testing people's knowledge of said things.
Right. Right. And there's also that whole other thing called, you know, the end justifies the means. You know, he's trying to stave off Ragnarok before it's too soon. He's got bigger things at work than just a common thing of, hey, look, my tire's fucked up. I need help. You know.
Unless he's testing your
But
willingness.
it still goes
to
back to, honestly, the two stanzas still work hand in hand for that.
Absolutely.
Not only should you watch your door that you walk into, those around you, because you never know if that somebody's just testing the waters.
Yep.
But as the host, you should be doing the same.
Yeah, but after all, that door's in front of you as well.
Yeah, just because someone comes in and they say, hi, I'm so-and-so, my car broke down the street, I don't have a phone.
Right.
Doesn't mean you should take them into your kitchen and say, here, have this, have that. It means give them a seat, show them where to sit, but be respectful about it. If you're in a situation where you can't trust that person, sure, bring them in if you wish. Have them in a safe spot, but say, hey, look, I don't know you. We've never met before. I don't know your family. I don't know your lineage. I don't know anyone or anything about you.
Right.
So therefore, if you will, for my own safety, please stay here. And most people will respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And if they don't, you know, you can feel no guilt about kicking them to the curb.
Right.
Setting
Absolutely.
personal and
Absolutely.
setting boundaries for yourselves and your guests.
Yep.
While still being hospitable.
Yep. And understanding the difference between being a host and being a guest means that you can't do certain things to each other. You're bound by that relationship, the obligation. Look, I am asking for aid. They're rendering aid. You know, really, the door doesn't look that much different from either side.
Yeah.
True. Yes.
So it sounds a lot like you're talking about self-reliance. You know, for one thing, you know, where you need to do the work, and you know, if you get into trouble, be willing to ask for help and those kinds of things, and actually attempt an approach. However, it also sounds like you're also speaking to not becoming codependent.
Yes.
So,
yes.
As well, you know, because you can become hyper vigilant on the other side of it.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's always that knowing your own limitations and what you can do, and not overreaching what you can do on both respects. You know, a guest shouldn't overreach their boundary of, you know, becoming dependent on them, and a host shouldn't offer so much aid that the guest is now completely dependent.
Correct.
So there is a balance there. Yeah, definitely.
And it would be kind of like finding that farmer's house and then going, well, you know, help can't come in until tomorrow.
Right.
You can stay out in the barn or in our guest house or something like that, but not in my home tonight.
Right.
Or there's a hotel down the road unless.
Right.
Right.
We'll give you a lift down there if it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that would be I mean, if it were me stranded on the side of the road and someone offered to drive me down to the nearest hotel, I'd take it because they're helping me.
Right.
You know, ultimately, you shouldn't feel like you have the right to impose on another person if they're not comfortable with it. Everything should be on a common level, on common ground.
Equal footing.
Right. Thank you. Yeah,
Particular story I can call back from memory.
Sure.
In high school, I had an interesting night out partying in an area that I was not at all familiar with, and got completely lost and imposed on what turned out to be the most interesting trio of older individuals. I didn't get to know them at all, but they did let me use their phone.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, trio of unusual individuals. You have my attention, sir.
An older man and two older women.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oregon's not that far from Utah.
Nope.
Yeah. Got you.
Yeah.
Understood.
Well, that's
It was
funny.
also Halloween, so.
Oh, that's a cool little
Yeah.
note to break down. Yeah. So were you in costume?
I was.
Okay. But they still helped. That's the point.
Yeah.
You were.
I was dressed like a normal person because I was a serial killer. I look like everyone else.
Which then leads into know who the hell you're letting in your house.
Right.
We're, you know, we don't live in the Ozarks and Amish land. You know, we can't trust every neighbor. We don't know them all. So just be aware of who they are and who you are.
Okay. Any other questions from our audience? Okay. You got anything?
Nope.
You got anything? Okay, well, I got nothing. So, to wrap it up, please leave a comment, like, follow, add, subscribe, press the little bell thingy.
Receive notifications.
And please leave your comments, your questions, what you think. We want to know what you think too, because that's important.
Yes.
And we may respond by typing it in. We might even make another video as a follow-up.
Right. And even if we don't agree with your comment, we're still going to leave it as long as it's respectful.
And we'll probably still answer it.
Right.
So please feel free to do as you wish. And make sure to follow us for more videos to come. Thank you very much.